Relationship advice. Update. My 34 male wife, 28 female, wants to name our baby after her dead ex-boyfriend. Original post. When my wife and I met, she had broken up with her boyfriend almost a year prior. We went on a couple of dates, until I noticed she slowly stopped talking to me. I found out she had gotten back with her boyfriend. We remained friendly since we would run into each other at the gym. That's how we met. A year later, they break up. I decided to go for it again and asked her out. She was pretty upfront about him, and I learned that they have been off and on for almost 4 years. She left him because he started to get abusive. We get married a little over a year later. A few months later, she gets pregnant. Last week, I was sitting in the kitchen studying until I heard my wife yell out, crying. I ran over to her to ask her what was wrong. She had difficulty speaking, but she eventually showed me a post on Facebook that a mutual friend between her and her ex had posted. Her ex had gotten into a motorcycle accident and had died. My wife was an avid motorcyclist who stopped riding once she got pregnant. She knew how passionate he was about motorcycle riding just as much as her, and how tragic it is. I console my wife and help her get to bed, letting her know that I'm here for her. I didn't think much about the whole thing, until my wife told me last night that she wants to name our baby after him. I hesitated for a bit and told her that I feel uncomfortable with it. For one, it's her ex. Second, he was abusive. Why would she want to honor someone like that? My wife got pretty upset and just wouldn't hear me out on my reasons. She won't talk to me at all. Am I really in the wrong here? I'm just thinking that my wife is extremely emotional at the moment since she's pregnant and trying to process her ex's death. Any advice? Now for the top advice before reading the update. Okay, I'll be the a-hole here. Is the kid yours? She's left you for him before, you got married really quickly, and she got pregnant shortly after. It doesn't exactly sound like she was over him given her response and wanting to name the kid after him. On the not a-hole side, you are absolutely correct in not wanting to have your child named after her ex. That's an incredibly disturbing thing to have to explain, which shouldn't even be an issue in the first place. I really hope she's just being in a heightened emotional state because that is very disrespectful to you and the marriage. To add on to the a-hole theory about the cheating, it won't be strange if she cheated and stuck around due to you being the safe choice. That is, the guy she'd be okay settling down with to start a family, etc. Marrying someone a year in is never a good idea, especially after they've had a major breakup. But yeah, naming your kid after her ex is absurd. But keep in mind that some people tend to disregard the terrible things they've done due to them being dead. To them the dead are perfect and can do no wrong, even if they were jerks in real life. Just think about how every time you said your kid's name you would think about the ex and how your kid would feel knowing he was named after his mom's ex-boyfriend. That kid's going to feel messed up when they find out, and it will put a huge strain on their relationship with your wife. OP, please, make sure to have her throw this idea out the window. Red flag. Run, Forrest. Run. And now for the update. Wow, so, this post got a lot more traction than I expected. First of all, I want to thank all of you for your advice and showing your concerns, not just for myself, but for my wife too. It means a lot. Now on to the update. For Easter, we already had plans with her family to go to church and then have a barbecue at her sister's. Not wanting her family to see any tension, I saw this as a chance for her to have to speak to me. As we're getting ready for church, I tell her that we need to talk about everything now. She agreed and sat down with me. I did tell her that there is absolutely no way we're naming our baby after her ex, or any of our kids, if we have even more. She agreed and apologized for acting irrational. Also, I know a lot of you suggested that I get a paternity test. I know that I'm 100% the father. I didn't want anyone to get my anxiety up, since while it may seem rational, jumping into an extreme conclusion and making things worse. I thought it out, but I still did ask if she was still in love with her ex and if she did cheat. She adamantly said no. She had already stopped loving him, even before they broke up. She tried to make the relationship work, but she just wasn't in love with him anymore. She described him as not being a good person at all. She apologized for making me feel that way. I told her that I understand she's going through a lot of emotions right now and being pregnant doesn't help at all. But, I had to ask on why she would want to name our baby after him, even after all she has told me. She started to get choked up and was shaking. I told her that she could tell me. She confessed that when her and her ex broke up, the last thing she told him was that she wished he would fall off his bike and die. Also, the bike that he died riding on was a bike that she strongly suggested that he buy, even though it wasn't his first choice. She also talked about how accidentally getting pregnant and her ex suddenly dying is a lot for her to handle. She wasn't expecting to be a mom so soon, and her life is about to change when she really didn't want it to. She talked about how she thought we'd travel and that she'd continue racing her motorcycle. Now, she's not even sure if she'd be able to ride again. She actually thought she might be able to ride again once she had the baby, but her ex's death reminded her how much of a risk it is. She doesn't want to risk her life when she has a family. She feels gutted. Regardless, she kept stressing out to me on how she wouldn't change a thing about her life now and that she's happy to be married to me and is going to be a mom. We're the best things that has ever happened to her. Anxiety also runs in my wife's family. My wife gets intrusive thoughts about how her ex died too. It's so bad that she has a hard time sleeping sometimes. After discussing things, she decided that she'll be going into therapy. She has her first appointment this week. Now for some top comments. She's actually feeling survivor's guilt. I went through that when my brother was killed. He died fixing the very truck I co-signed for him. I didn't want him to buy it, but it made him happy. I'm glad that you and your wife overcame that obstacle. Good luck to you and your family. I hope that you too were able to overcome your obstacle. I'm sorry for your loss. I hope you know now that it wasn't your fault. This is like a perfect case study and not taking Reddit's advice at face value. It was pretty obvious from your last post that she was just grieving because someone she was once close with had just died. Yet of course this sub was convinced that she was cheating on you. And no sympathy for that she's also pregnant and of course already had hormones all over the place either, making the grief even worse. It warms my heart that you guys worked it out. You guys seem to have a very mature and loving relationship. These are the kind of updates that I want to see on this sub. Good stuff OP, and congrats on being a father. I'd recommend seeing the movie About Time. It really made me fall in love with the idea of being a father. Now for the next story. My husband, 39 male, destroyed my 31 female dead boyfriend's ring that he gave me. Chris was my first love. His mother and my mother were best friends. From when I was born, he was right by side, always being there for me, and I adored him. We were 12 when we had our first kiss and we were 18 when we moved in together. On his 21st birthday, we were out celebrating when he suddenly collapsed. It turns out that he was sick with an aggressive form of brain cancer. Doctors gave him 3 months to live. We opted out of treatment because doctors told us that the possibility for the cancer to be sent into remission was extremely low. We went around the world and shared many memories that I still treasure with my whole heart. I wanted to marry him, but he would always refuse. He asked me, "Why do you want to get married to a dead man? You should live your life and marry someone who will be there for you instead." On his deathbed, he told me that he has something for me. Turns out, he got me a promise ring. He told me that his dying wish was that I remember him, and he promised me that he'll marry me when we see each other again in the afterlife. He passed away right after. His death really impacted me, but I was in the midst of pharmacy exams and as cheesy as it sounds, I wanted him to be proud of me. When our class graduated, I was the valedictorian. I dealt with his death for many years by mainly overworking myself, and I stayed single for all these years. I wore the ring on my pinky finger as the reminder of my dead boyfriend. Years after, I met Mark, who was working in the research facility that I work in. Mark is a doctor. He immediately took interest in me and I in him when I found out that he was working on cancer treatment research. We started dating and took things slow. We've been married for 2 years now. Even so, I still refuse to take my dead boyfriend's ring off of my finger. My husband and I have had arguments about it, but I thought he accepted it. Apparently not. Last night, my husband apparently took the ring off of my finger while I was asleep and destroyed it. The ring looks completely disfigured. He told me that I could move on now and that this will help me forget about my dead boyfriend. I haven't been home since then. I'm asleep at my parents' house. I don't know what to do or how to talk to him. Please help. I've been crying non-stop. Now for the top advice. I was a jeweler for years. Please take the ring to a jeweler. You can't believe the situations rings get into, and often they're fixable, even if they look totally beyond repair. We reconstructed rings that went into garbage disposals, went through lawn mowers, and had to be cut off by emergency medical technicians. A skilled jeweler might be able to make your ring just like new. In the unlikely event that it isn't repairable, They might be able to incorporate any stones or the metal into a new piece of jewelry like a necklace so you can continue to remember Chris through his gift. And while you're at it, get a new husband. You want to grow old with a man that has a heart, don't you? That's a good recommendation, and sounds like it might be worth a try for OP. Your husband prioritized his own insecurities above your mental health. That's some BS. He's literally telling you it's more important to me that I not have to cope with my own jealousy than your happiness is. That's BS, and I don't know that I'd be able to go back to a relationship with so little trust. I know, right, and he's a flipping doctor. Mental health can affect your physical health. He should know that if he's a doctor. Oh hun, I'm so sorry. To destroy something that important to you, that is not love. To me, it sounds like your husband has jealousy issues and that is a big red flag. You chose to marry him and that should be enough, instead of such a brutal overstepping of boundaries and being jealous of the dead. I'd suggest a marriage counselor as a first step. But if it were me, my heart would be broken and so would my love for this jealous man. Lots of love and hugs from Canada girl. Now for the last story. Update. My 27 female, son 6 doesn't like my boyfriend, 31 male. Everyone thinks I should break up with him but I don't want to. What do I do? Original post. My husband, my son's dad, passed away when he was 2. I thought I could never date or be with anyone ever again, until I met my current boyfriend a year ago. He is a wonderful person and we got serious pretty quickly. I introduced him to my son about 3 months into dating him, and they got along fine. He is really good with my son and he genuinely enjoys spending time with him. My son was also happy to spend time with him and he got along with him fine. Until about a month and a half ago. I don't know what happened. He went to visit his grandparents for a week, and when he came back, he became quite withdrawn and didn't want to spend time with my boyfriend anymore. He told me that he doesn't want me seeing him anymore. I thought maybe he was just reminded of his dad after spending time with his grandparents. Even though he was 2 when he passed away, I've always tried to make sure he knows about his dad. I thought he would be okay after a few days, but he still hasn't warmed back up to my boyfriend. I think he still does like him, but is apprehensive about spending time with him for some reason. The other day he was really excited and asked me whether my boyfriend will be coming with us to watch a movie, but then seemed to check himself and refuse when I offered to call and ask. I have tried to find out from his why he's being like this and he just says he doesn't know or I just don't want to see him. I am at a loss for what to do. This has been very hard on me and my boyfriend. He has grown quite fond of my son, and this rejection is making us both feel really horrible. My mother and older sister are pressuring me to do what's best for my son and break up with him. My older brother thinks that this will pass, and also that my husband's parents may have said something. I can't imagine them doing something like that. I also think maybe he just needs more time and to just spend more time with my boyfriend, although I also don't want to force him. Am I being selfish? I love my son very very much. But I also don't want to break up with my boyfriend and I also think that he's good for my son. Am I being a horrible mom? Now for the top advice before reading the update. I mean, barring the usual childhood ridiculousness that can occur, sounds like the grandparents said some things. It could have even been inadvertent. I agree 100%. The child probably said how much he likes the guy, and the grandparents got offended. When he visited his grandparents, I am assuming it was his dad's parents. Could they have either intentionally or unintentionally said something to your son about his dad that would make him feel guilty for accepting another man into the father figure role that should have been their late son's? I would ask your son or maybe have a conversation with the grandparents. They may be hurting or feeling slighted by the fact you are moving on and possibly finding a new father figure for your son. You should not have to ruin a really good relationship with what seems like a genuinely caring and loving guy, but ultimately, the relationship with you and your son comes first. I hope you are able to solve this dilemma and everything works out for you. This sounds very likely. This is either something happened between your boyfriend and son when you were not looking, or your son's grandparents want you to be a widow forever. Have they ever spoken to you on this subject? I've asked my son whether my boyfriend did anything or said anything and he denies anything happened. Well, he just says no. Did he do anything to upset you? No. Did he do anything to hurt you? No. Did you have a fight? No. My husband was their only son and it was very difficult for them to accept when he passed away. They've never directly said anything to me. Now for the update. Turns out it really was something his grandparents said, as many of you suggested. They said some things that made my son think that my boyfriend and I will make our own family, and he'll be the fifth wheel and I will no longer love him. I reassured him and made sure he understood I will always love him, and that he will only have more people love him, not less. Boyfriend and I agreed we needed to spend more time together with him, and we've been doing that, and he's warmed up to boyfriend surprisingly quickly. So that's working out really well, and my boyfriend has been really wonderful throughout this. I feel kind of ashamed for even considering breaking up with him. I've been told I told you so by my brother. I have been putting off talking to his grandparents. But I will definitely talk to them before I let my son spend time with them again. I want to make it clear to them that it's not acceptable to say or insinuate things like that to my son, but also want to reassure them that they will get to see him, so long as they don't put weird ideas in his head. I think I will see them by myself and lay it all out, and then maybe have a little break before letting my son visit them. Edit. Thank you all for your kind words and advice. Honestly overwhelmed by the number of responses. Wasn't expecting it. I know many of you think that I should cut his grandparents off, but I honestly don't think they must have said something like that directly to him. Maybe he misunderstood. I will find out for sure when I speak to them. I am taking this very seriously, and it's definitely a possibility depending on how everything goes. Now for some top comments. Yes, I love a good update among all the sad/weird/infuriating ones. Good luck. I wish you and your little family happiness. This place has been on a roll with happy updates recently. Talk to the grandparents, but make sure they don't make your son feel guilty for telling on them if they had told him not to say anything. Then your son may think you lied if he gets in trouble with the grandparents because you promised that he will not get in trouble. Good luck. It's not reasonable or kind to ask a young child to keep a secret. That's not good parenting. They emotionally manipulated your child to try to manipulate you. You shouldn't leave them alone with your son anymore, and make it clear that if they put their own wants above the emotional needs and safety of your child, then they won't be allowed to see him. Yeah, no unsupervised visits until they can prove they're not trying to sabotage you. I'd fear what the next accusation could be. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone.